ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for my first ever LEGO unboxing and review video. Now today we are going to be taking a look at the brand new LEGO Optimus Prime. Now this may be my first review for a LEGO set, but it's not the first one I've ever built, so don't worry, I'm not completely new to the process. I do have to say a massive thank you to Hasbro and the LEGO group for sending me one of these bad boys before they've been released, so that I can make this video. Now if you are looking to grab him, he will be up for sale on June 1st at lego.com/Optimus. I will pop the link for that in the description down below. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. Also check out the join button for more info on channel memberships. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art and it's very clean. An image of Optimus himself front and center, Transformers up top, LEGO down below, as well as a red strip of greebling with some info. Another image of him on the side of the box, and then a bunch more on the back, showcasing the accessories and the fact that he can transform. Now, this unboxing is slightly different to how we'd normally take something out of the packaging. We do have two sections that you're supposed to press in. Now, if you do that, they will compress, and then you can open up the box. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do on camera, but trust me, when you get this in hand, it makes perfect sense. After you've done that, you can tip out all of the parts. Now, to save trying to build all of this on camera, I do have a much easier way. Here we have him, and all of the parts and pieces. Now we will be taking a look at the brick-built accessories first, and then moving on to Prime himself. But before we do that, I do very quickly want to talk about the build process and the instruction manual. Now, if you've built a LEGO set before, this is relatively straightforward. But at the front, you do have a very nice image of Bumblebee, Prime, Megatron, and Starscream. I do hope that that means going forward we will be getting more Transformers in this line. Now he does come with this rather small plaque that you can kind of just have sitting next to him. It clearly says Optimus Prime and then has all of his tech specs. Now this is a sticker. There aren't a ton of stickers in this set, but do be careful because the ones that are included do need to be applied very precisely. Luckily though, the Autobot symbols are printed on tiles. That means out of the box, they are going to be perfect. Speaking of tiles, that's exactly how I would describe Sideswipe's jetpack. It's completely tiled off. You do only have a few visible studs around the front that make up this accurate little triangle section, and some up top. Now around the back, it is largely very hollow with some retaining clips. Now that's because this is never going to be seen, it can be worn by Optimus. Don't worry, we will be trying that out later on. Down below you do have these sections on ball joints, plus some trans clear orange for the thrusters. For the most part, he does transform without any parts forming, but something had to give. And it turns out it's the front bumper for the truck or the crotch plate for the robot mode. Now, this is something you will have to switch out. But technically, at the same time, you don't have to. I think the cel-shaded one works perfectly fine for both modes. But if you are going for accuracy, then yes, you do have to switch it out. We will talk about this a bit more when we actually look at Optimus. These are also stickers, so do make sure you are placing them dead center on these tiles, because when you're in vehicle mode, it's right up the front of the truck, and when he's in robot mode, this is the center of his crotch plate, so you do want it to be placed nice and squarely. Something that's kind of a given when we're talking LEGO Transformers is an Energon cube. It just makes sense. It is brick built, it's made out of trans clear purple, and you have some tiles up top. The only complaint I have is I personally would have liked to have had more than just one. Something that ended up being really interesting to look at in LEGO is the Energon axe. Now it's not in the typical shape that you'd expect, but it still works very nicely. It's mostly built out of trans clear orange, and you do have a Technic rod down below. that does help you connect it up to Optimus. Just like most of these other pieces, we will be trying this out later on as well. Lastly, one of the coolest accessories here is his Ion Blaster. This was not only fun to build, but it's very accurate. You do have the massive section up the back with the grey in the middle, plus a couple of ribbed pieces to add a little bit more detail. You do have the handle down below, but technically that's not how he holds onto this. More on that when we bring Prime himself out here. And luckily, what we are going to do now is get Optimus Prime himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him in truck mode on the rotating turntable. And yeah, that is very clearly G1 Optimus Prime. I am so darn happy with how this guy turned out. And the fact that you actually get to sit down and build him, yeah, it's a very enjoyable experience. For the most part, he is very smooth and tiled off. But I like that. If there were a bunch of studs, then he might look a little bit more Lego, yes, but it might not work as Optimus. I am curious, as the line progresses, are they going to keep this very tiled off aesthetic? For red, grey and dark blue, it definitely works. But when they start experimenting with other colours for other characters, I don't know if the part selection is going to be as readily available. What we are going to do now though is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal in truck mode. Now we will be doing the transformation in just a moment. Now if anything falls off while I'm handling him on camera, don't worry, he's made of Lego, that's supposed to happen. You can very easily pop those pieces right back on. Now at the back, I do have his Ion Blaster nicely and securely stowed. You simply slide it in and then push it back to lock it in place. Plus, now that it is back there, the handle can act as a trailer hitch. Very clever Hasbro and Lego. So now if they wanted to, they could very easily release a trailer. Around the back, you do have his very nicely tiled off blue legs, plus some trans clear red on top of his feet that act as tail lights. You do have 3 rubber tires on either side, plus some drum lacquered silver for the hubcaps, and the same thing can be said for the fuel canisters. Up top, you have some nice long smokestacks, plus his Autobot symbol. Now, around the front, you've got some trans clear yellow for the top headlights, some trans clear for the front sections, and then some orange down below. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you wanted to, you could, every time you want to transform him, switch out that plate. Or you could very easily leave the cel-shaded one on the front, and I don't think that looks half bad, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, these sections are on hinges. When he's in truck mode, they're all supposed to be flat, and in robot mode, you simply push them in. But then again, that's also down to personal preference. If you want to have a more angled look for the truck, you can definitely get that done as well. Plus, this is on a hinge, so you can move it backwards and forwards. It's all adjustable. But if you are wondering what he looks like in robot mode, well, so am I. So we may as well cut right to the chase and begin the transformation. To do that, you simply remove his Ion Blaster, flip his toes out on both sides, unpeg his legs, rotate the gas canisters to the side, lift the front section of the grille up and out of the way, unfold his hands that are very nicely tucked up underneath the wheel wells, which will then allow you to completely ratchet out his arms on both sides. Unfold him so he is now able to stand straight up and down, rotate the upper torso around and into place, fold these pieces on the arms in on both sides, and then bend his arm down at the elbow. This grille section does have some very clever engineering. You do bring in these red sections on an angle, and when you slide them into place, they will nicely tuck up underneath this grey section. That means you can now connect this crotch plate up to the legs, move in these pieces on the side, and then flare the red sections out to give him a little bit more definition in the ab section. And from the side, the grille is now at an angle. And then lastly, of course, for the head reveal, you rotate it up and then turn it around. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box in robot mode. The fact that we just took a red and blue Lego truck, moved a few pieces around, and now we have a Lego Optimus Prime is blowing my mind. I never thought this kind of engineering without parts forming, mind you, was possible in Lego. But here we are. The designers have proved me wrong, and they have made something very special. Now, yes, if you do look at this as an Optimus Prime figure, it's not perfect. There are gaps, the proportions are a little bit off with his forearms being slightly too long, but if you take into account that you can build this out of smaller parts and pieces and you can transform it, then at least in my mind, I think this guy gets a pass. He still is 100% Optimus Prime, and even just standing there, he cuts a pretty darn good silhouette. He's got an A stance with the legs, you can push back his shoulders to give him this heroic look, and you do have a decent amount of articulation. What we are going to do now, though, is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look, once again, at the details. Here we have him up close and personal. And for the most part, yeah, I'm really happy with how this guy looks. Now, starting off with the head sculpt, that is absolutely Lego Optimus Prime. The crest and the eyes are printed tiles, and his mouthplate, which is drum lacquered silver, so it does have a nice shine to it, is, I'm pretty sure, a brand new piece for this set. Plus, the ears are articulated, so you can give him a little bit more of a dynamic flair if you so choose. But for me, I like them sitting straight up and down. Now, you can open up the Matrix chamber to reveal the Matrix of Leadership. Now, I was half expecting this to be a brand new molded piece, but this works too. It's not 100% bang on to how we know the Matrix of Leadership to look, but it's made out of Lego, so I'm going to give it a pass. You do of course have those Autobot symbols printed on his shoulders, as we saw in vehicle mode. Now, around the back, as you'll remember from earlier, you can attach Sideswipe's jetpack. Now, these clips will peg onto these sections on the inside of Prime, and when you do that, it does peg on nice and securely. Now, I haven't decided as of yet if I'm going to have him wearing this in the collection full time, but once you have it on there, it beefs him out very nicely. Where otherwise, around the front, he was looking a little bit thin around the ab section. Even though these pieces can flare out, there is still a bit of a gap. Now, if you are wondering, okay, well, we saw the weapons from earlier, how on earth do they attach? Well, I was wondering the exact same thing. Starting off with the Energon axe, you remove his hand that's connected with a Technic pin, then fold it down on ratchets to reveal a Technic connector on the inside. That means you can bring in the axe and simply slide it in place. That means it's a very secure connection, the axe isn't going anywhere, and it looks like it's formed out of his forearm. This, in my opinion, is the best way to do it, and I really like how that looks. Don't worry, we will be checking this out, fully zoomed out with him rotating on the turntable a little bit later on. Now, if you want to attach the Ion Blaster, you can have him hold the handle, but I'm pretty sure you can already tell what's going on here. There are some studs at the top of the forearm just above that printed arrow that connect up to the back of his blaster. That means it doesn't really matter how hard he's gripping it, it is going to be very secure, just like we saw for the Energon axe. Now, if you are seeing his arm rotating back, that's because the butterfly joint for transformation is a little bit loose. However, when you do push it up in place, it does connect up, so as long as you're not shaking him or trying to review him on camera, it shouldn't go anywhere. But as you can see, now that we have the Ion Blaster in his hand, yeah, it actually does look like he's holding it. Now, coming down to the legs, these pieces on the thighs are stickers. So once again, make sure you are careful with your placement, because if you stuff those up, they are right up the front. Then coming down to the legs, some drum lacquered silver for the vents, which look really good, and then the rest of the legs are completely tiled. Plus, of course, you do have those rubber tires from before. At the end of the day, as I said, I didn't really know what I was expecting for a Lego Optimus Prime, but I think this might be one of my all-time favorite LEGO sets. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have LEGO Optimus on the left and 30DLX Optimus from the Bumblebee movie on the right. And as you can see, LEGO Optimus is huge, but I'm all for it. He feels big, he feels substantial, there is bang for your buck. Plus, with all of the complex engineering going on here, I don't think they could make him any smaller. The question is now though, if they do make Megatron and Starscream and Bumblebee, how big are they going to be? Are they going to all be proportionate and in scale? I definitely hope they are, but I guess only time will tell. Just going over articulation. Now you'll have to bear with me, cause once again this guy is made of LEGO, if it wasn't already apparent. Which means some of the joints are rather unorthodox. Now starting off with the brick-built head sculpt, it does look forward and back on a ball joint, swivel and pivot side to side. Plus, it can rock forward and back for even more range, thanks to transformation. Now the arms are on butterflies, they do ratchet forward and back and ratchet up and down. Swivel at the elbow, plus a ratcheted single bend, then a swivel at the wrist. Plus, you also have hinged fingers and a hinged thumb. Now, technically there is a rotation at the waist for transformation, but when you bring this grille section down and peg it in place, then unfortunately you're losing all that range. The legs will ratchet forward to there, they will ratchet out to there. If you do remove those tires, you might get a little bit more range. Swivel at the knee, and unfortunately no bend. Lastly, a hinge and swivel down here for the ankle, plus some toe articulation. Just wrapping up on the LEGO Optimus Prime set. Now going into this, I was extremely excited, but at the same time, I honestly had no idea what to expect. This guy is the first of his kind, but I'm definitely hoping that he's not the last, cause he is awesome. This might not be the best Optimus Prime figure, but this is now my favorite LEGO build. It comes together beautifully, the colors are going to pop in the display, he's big, he's articulated, he's got accessories, and he can transform between truck and robot mode with almost no part forming. And if you don't care about that crotch plate / front bumper section, then it's straight up no part forming. For me, this is an absolute win. Like I said a couple of times, I want more of these guys. Megatron, Starscream, Bumblebee, heck, even a Soundwave and Shockwave. I know y'all can get that done. Now I do have to say a massive thank you to Hasbro and the LEGO Group for sending me this Optimus Prime to review prior to its release. Now if you do want to grab him, he is releasing June 1st at lego.com/Optimus. Link for that is in the description down below. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon? Plus, check out the join button for more info on Justin's Collection Plus Max, the YouTube channel memberships. If you do like the sound of your name in the end credits of my reviews, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.